Operation Fantasia. In 1943, US military planners looked for ways to weaken Japanese morale. One idea focused on superstition, specifically the fear of kitsune, or fox spirits, believed to bring misfortune or death. The plan, called Operation Fantasia, proposed releasing hundreds of foxes painted with glowing phosphorus into Japanese villages at night. The glowing animals would appear unnatural and ghostly under moonlight. To prepare, the team studied Japanese folklore and even ordered special dyes that wouldn't harm the animals, but would glow in the dark. The goal was to make civilians panic, believing they were seeing cursed spirits. But the plan ran into problems. The foxes were wild and hard to control. The glowing paint faded quickly, and most importantly, no one knew how to release them safely into Japanese territory, without them dying or escaping along the way. So the project was quietly cancelled. The chicken gun. In the 1970s, to make sure jet engines could survive bird strikes, engineers at NASA and the US Air Force needed a way to simulate birds hitting planes at full speed. So they built a special device, a cannon that fired dead chickens. The gun launched the chickens at windshields, engines, and fuselages at over 300 miles per hour. It helped test how much damage a bird could cause during flight, and the idea worked. Many planes were redesigned based on the results. Later, versions of the chicken gun were used by aircraft manufacturers around the world. It became a standard safety test. But one day, a foreign team complained that the test was unrealistic. Their windshield shattered badly during trials. The response? You have to thaw the chicken before firing. Because real birds aren't frozen like supermarket chickens. They fly warm. And yes, the chicken gun is still in use today. The Ghost Army. In 1944, during World War II, the U.S. Army formed a secret unit called the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Not to fight, but to deceive. This Ghost Army used inflatable tanks, rubber planes, and fake artillery. They blasted recorded battle sounds through giant speakers. At night, they moved equipment around to make it look like a huge army had arrived. But here's the twist. These weren't soldiers. They were artists, sound engineers, and actors, masters of illusion. They wore fake uniforms, created dummy camps, and sent phony radio messages to fool German spies. Why? Because if the enemy believed a full army was stationed somewhere, they'd send troops in the wrong direction. That gave the real Allied forces time and space to strike elsewhere. And yes, it was dangerous. If the Germans attacked for real, the Ghost Army had no heavy weapons. They were basically defenseless. Still, the deception worked. Over 20 missions were successful. Weaponizing the weather. In the late 1960s, during the Vietnam War, the US military launched a secret operation called Project Popeye. The goal was to turn the weather into a weapon. They used aircraft to spray silver iodide into rain clouds over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a key supply route for North Vietnamese forces. The chemical made the clouds release more rain than usual. The aim was to extend the monsoon season, flood the roads, and make it harder for the enemy to move troops and supplies. Over 5 years, American planes flew hundreds of cloud-seeding missions. Some areas saw increased rainfall. Roads became muddy. Movement slowed. The operation was kept secret from the public and even from many US officials. It was only revealed years later during Senate hearings. The weather, it turned out, had been drafted into the war. The insect bomb. In the 1950s, the US military tested a weapon that used live insects to spread disease. The idea was to drop fleas or mosquitoes infected with deadly pathogens over enemy territory. They built special bombs that didn't explode with fire, but opened mid-air to release swarms of bugs. One test, called Operation Big Itch, used uninfected fleas to see how far they could spread. Another, Operation Big Buzz, dropped over 300,000 mosquitoes from planes in Georgia to track how quickly they found human blood. The tests showed that insects could survive the drop and immediately seek out hosts. The results were recorded and filed for potential future use. Though the insects were never weaponized in combat, the idea remained part of Cold War planning. The strange idea of the gay bomb. In the early 2000s, at a US military research lab, a group of scientists came up with a strange idea. Instead of building a weapon that kills, they wanted something that could confuse enemy soldiers. So they proposed a bomb that would release strong male pheromones into the air. The idea was that, once exposed, enemy troops might become sexually attracted to each other. It would disrupt discipline, cause confusion, maybe even stop them from fighting. They called it a non-lethal aphrodisiac weapon, and they actually asked for $7.5 million to develop it. The plan was real. It was written in official documents, but the project never moved forward. Years later, the papers were released to the public. People were shocked. Then they laughed. The media gave it a new name, the gay bomb. It became a joke, and a reminder of just how strange military ideas can get. The bat bomb that set buildings on fire. During the middle of World War II, the US needed new ways to strike Japan. One dentist from Pennsylvania, Dr. Lytle S. Adams, had a wild idea: use bats as bombers. His plan was simple. First, hundreds of bats were kept cool to remain asleep. Each bat had a tiny incendiary bomb with a time delay fuse attached to its chest. These bats were then loaded into a special cylindrical bomb casing designed to release them in midair. When dropped from a plane, the casing opened, scattering the bats into the sky. As the bats woke up, they naturally flew into buildings to find roosts, especially the wooden ones common in Japan. Then, the fuses on the incendiary devices ignited, turning the bats into flying fire starters. The military liked the idea. They tested it in New Mexico, and it worked almost too well. Some bats escaped and managed to set a hangar and a general's car on fire, proving the concept worked but was highly unpredictable. The project showed promise, but it was hard to control the bats. And before they could perfect it, the US developed something even more powerful: the atomic bomb. So the bat bomb project was quietly shut down in 1944. The spy cat that didn't make it. In the 1960s, during the Cold War, the CIA wanted a new way to eavesdrop on the Soviets, so they turned to something no one would suspect: a cat. The plan was called Acoustic Kitty. Agents implanted a tiny microphone in the cat's ear, a battery in its chest, and an antenna along its spine. The goal? Let the cat wander near Soviet officials and secretly record their conversations. After months of surgery and training, the CIA released the cat on its first mission, just outside the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C. But as soon as it stepped onto the street, it got hit by a taxi. The mission ended in seconds. The $1 million cat was gone. The program was quietly canceled. Years later, the project was revealed in declassified documents. Some people thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. The CIA really tried to turn a house cat into a high-tech spy. It just didn't go as planned. The exploding rat plan. During World War II, British intelligence had a sneaky idea. They planned to use dead rats as weapons. The plan was simple. Take real dead rats, stuff them with small explosives, then leave them near boilers, engines, or factories in Nazi territory. The hope was that German workers would find the rats and throw them into the fire. That's when the bomb would go off. It sounded crazy, but clever. They even prepared dozens of fake rats. Each one carefully stitched back together after hiding the explosives inside. But before they could be used, the first shipment was intercepted by the Germans. The surprise? It actually worked in a different way. The Nazis were so alarmed by the discovery that they spent time and resources checking every rat they found afterward. It created panic and delays, without a single rat exploding. The project was shut down, but the idea survived.